What's up, everybody? This is your boy Matt Taylor, and welcome back to the Matt Taylor Podcast. This is episode number 3 of the Matt Taylor Podcast. Thank you so much for joining in. While you are joining, please take your time and like, comment, and share this podcast right now. Please click that like button right there. Yeah, click that one right there, and comment, share. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to my podcast, the Matt Taylor Podcast. I will greatly appreciate it. Also, this is a sole proprietor podcast. I own this podcast, and I am looking for sponsors. We're looking for sponsors. We're looking for ad sponsors. So if you have a business, a small business, big business, if you are an artist, a music artist, if you have anything that you want to promote, please email us. The show email will pop up. The podcast email will pop up right there at the bottom of the screen, and you can email us any information that you have, and we will get in touch with you right back about being a sponsor or having an ad on this episode. Also, if you would like to donate monetarily, we also have our podcast Cash App. So if you would like to donate to this podcast to keep seeing more and more content of this podcast, it will we will greatly appreciate that. That will pop up on the screen as well. So I do want to thank you all for tuning in. We have a great episode on today. This is probably one of my most favorite episodes that I am going to shoot on today. We have none other than Dr. Antwon Martin. For those of you who know Dr. Antwon Martin, he is a great man. And I'm so excited for you all to be able to hear his story and some of the content and the topics that we're going to talk about. This is going to be great. It's going to be awesome. This was one of my most favorite episodes that I have recorded so far. So I hope you all enjoy this episode. Like I said, please like, comment, and share during this episode. Please put any questions in there that you have. Be engaged with this episode, and like I said, share it with someone. And we'll see you on the other side. Thank you for tuning in. Hey folks, it's Matt here. Now, you know I'm all about keeping things real and flavorful, whether it's in our conversations or in the kitchen. And speaking of flavor, I've got something special to share with you today. Southern Draw Seasoning, which is the sponsor of today's video. If you're like me and you love that down-home Southern taste, then you're going to want to try this. Southern Draw is more than just a seasoning. It's like a taste of tradition in every sprinkle. Whether you're grilling up some chicken, roasting veggies, or even making a good old pot of gumbo, Southern Draw adds that perfect blend of spices to make your dishes sing. And the best part? It's made with all natural ingredients. So you can feel good about what you're feeding your family. No artificial stuff, just pure, authentic flavor. So why not bring a little Southern charm to your next meal? Head on over to southerndrawshop.com and use the code TMTP20 at checkout for 20% off of your first order. Trust me, once you try it, you'll never want to try any other seasonings again. Again, that's southerndrawshop.com. And the code is TMTP20 for 20% off. Get ready to taste the South, y'all. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming back and joining this podcast, the Matt Taylor Podcast. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, please go ahead and like, comment, and share this podcast if you can. And also, please subscribe to the Matt Taylor Podcast if you have not done so already. As you guys see on the screen, I have I'm excited about this episode. Very excited about this episode because this man right here, he knows me personally. I know him. I've known him pretty much all of my life. and I am just so glad to have him on this podcast. Uh, Dr. Antwon Martin, thank you so much for joining me.
Man, I'm happy to be here, man. I'm proud of what you are becoming, and proud of just happy to be a part of this movement, man. You got something going on real positive here, man. It's gonna be powerful.
Thank you so much. And that's what this podcast is about. It's about being positive. It's about sharing stories of people that we may not know stories about. Getting the backgrounds of the ins and outs of people's personals and maybe like their careers, and maybe this can help somebody in helping them, direct them in some shape, way, or form in their life. So I do want to thank you for being a part. Really quick, everybody, those of you who do not know who Dr. Antwon Martin is, I'm just going to read a few things off of his bio, and we'll get right into the podcast. Dr. Antwon Martin is a author, speaker, and professor. The Lord blessed him to be an empowering and relevant voice of this generation. He has been featured on television, radio, and other media locals due to his exceptional accomplishments. Dr. Martin serves as the assistant pastor at Greater Bethel of Los Angeles under the awesome leadership of his father, Bishop Aaron M. Martin II. Humility, compassion, and integrity best describes Dr. Martin. He is an effective and dynamic speaker that is known for his powerful, rousing delivery. Antoine has devoted his life to winning lost souls for the kingdom. Countless testimonies attest to his passion. He is determined to impact the world for Jesus in such a way that families are strengthened, broken hearts are healed, and those who are bound are freed. This is my favorite part right here. That this educated college professor has a resume of educating in 500 plus seat lecture halls at the University of California, Los Angeles, to intimate settings at private universities. He believes that there is a prominence in academic achievement. Dr. Antwon Martin has received 4 collegiate degrees: associate in business administration, bachelor's in business finance, master's in education, and doctorate in education. While in college, he met the woman of his dreams, Miss Yvette. They dated for 4 years and then married in December of 2001. Antoine and Yvette are the proud parents of Hannah Rose and Faith Abigail Martin, who are beautiful, beautiful young ladies now. I think the last time I saw them, they were like little girls, but they are grown young ladies now. So, how is
Oh
it
yeah,
being a father of 2 teenage girls?
man. Don't start me right now, man. Look, it's expensive, brother. It's expensive. It costs.
I have two. I
Man,
have 2 young boys, so I'm hopefully they'll get there. But it's a different outlook from a father that has girls. So how is that? How is that? We'll start off with there, right there, being a
it's
father.
different, man. You definitely have to look at life a little different.
Hmm.
You have to treat things a little different because everything is like you're the protector. The buck stops with you. Everything has to
Hmm.
happen through you. So it changes, the way you look at things. Me and my brother, we grew up. I before my mom passed, I used to always apologize to my mom because me and my brother took my mom through. We was knucklehead boys. We was just boys being boys.
Right.
I didn't know what it was like to have girls. All I
Hmm.
knew was just boys. Me and my brother being silly and stupid and doing crazy stuff. Man, girls is a whole nother caveat, man. I did not prepare for this. I
Hmm.
was not,
Hmm.
nobody handed me a manual. But I mean, my girls are beautiful. They're awesome. They're amazing. It would be something if they was, making my head hurt, but they really don't, you know.
That's
They're
good.
amazing girls. They just themselves and they're
That's
expensive. They're expensive
Yes,
girls.
yes, definitely, definitely. We're gonna circle back to family and fatherhood in a moment, but let's talk about education. One thing that I've had the opportunity to do is I've had the opportunity to coach high school basketball, and be around a lot of young kids, right? And um, you are an educator. What is some of the struggles of being an educator in these times that we're living in right now, especially when you have a lot of young kids that are just, it seems like they're just misguided in every single, like, so many different forms and aspects of life. Like, so what is it like being an educator to young people in these times?
Man, you hit the nail on the head. The misguided nature of this generation is like that's
Mm-hmm.
the first battle. That's the first hurdle you have to overcome, like
Mm-hmm.
trying to get them back on the right track. And it's a real piece
Mm-hmm.
because you know I've been teaching for so many years now, and in the field of education for so many years now. I kind of been in all kind of spaces. I started off teaching at high school, teaching
Mm-hmm.
at a rough high school, Linwood High
Mm-hmm.
School in Linwood, California. It was a little rough over there when I first started. It was nothing to be on lockdown or have fights every day or
Mm-hmm.
issues with students, having riots and stuff like that. Those things were pretty normal over there. We had crazy
Mm-hmm.
things that happened, and I had to learn quickly how to speak to a generation, how to talk to a group of young people based on where they are and not necessarily where you want to get them to right away. Sometimes, I mean, the field of education is about addressing the need, but you got to address it in a way where you speak to where the people are,
Mm-hmm.
and not speak over their head, not speak around them. Like you really got to know where people are, and that requires you getting in the trenches and like knowing people.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Jesus model. 99% of the time, it's the Jesus. All the time, really, it's the Jesus model.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality of that is, hey, Jesus was out there in the trenches. He was walking the
Mm-hmm.
streets. He was in Galilee. He was walking because he had to know people. I think that's the mentality I have when I deal with trying to help people academically
Build a
through education.
relationship.
Oh man, the relationships are like huge now, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't try to tell somebody to do something if I don't feel like they are connected to me in some type of way. I
Mm-hmm.
want to try to connect to them, and I don't mean like we like homies or we going out to eat after class or anything like that. I'm saying like they need to know that I'm really there and understand them and want to be a part of their success story, because real education is about a passion. Real
Mm-hmm.
education is about love and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it from my wife. My wife was I wasn't going to be a teacher. I was going into
Mm-hmm.
business. And you read all of that bio, bro. You could have skipped some of that. my
we
my
had it. We got it. We got it. We got to hear about Dr. Antwon.
Man, I love you, man, but next time we're gonna give you little snippets. But my wife got me into teaching, so I was going to school for business. I wanted to be a accountant. I wanted to be a business financier. I wanted to do something in business finance,
Mm-hmm.
and I was kind of running to it. I was working for Floral Daniels, working for BP, the oil company, and trying to work in the
Mm-hmm.
business side. My wife was like, "Man, you need to be in education. Why don't you try to teach? You love kids. You love working with young people." And it kind of woke me up to this. You know, if she wouldn't have said that to me, I probably would have never did it. I probably would have
Mm-hmm.
never done it because I just didn't see myself as even jumping into that field. I just
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I knew I could make a lot of money doing what I wanted to do. And
Mm-hmm.
uh, she kind of flipped it on me. Said, "You don't like what you're doing. You really don't like what you're doing. How about you
Mm-hmm.
just jump on over and do this?" And
Mm-hmm.
I started teaching, like I said, at Linwood High School, and it changed my life, man. I saw
Wow.
uh, how I could make an impact with a generation, with a group of people that really don't have understanding as to what it means
Mm-hmm.
to sit at a dinner table with a family. You know what I'm saying? Like they
You
don't
know,
know
you
what. Go
you
ahead.
had taught you had said something. Well, we had kind of talked, and you said about the relationship piece that you
Mhm.
as an educator have to have with the young person. I think that's something that's very, very strong in today's time, because kids nowadays learn differently than, or they look at things, they process things differently than even how I came up. I'm 32 years
Mhm.
old, and I look at young kids now and be like, yo, this is crazy. Like some of the things that y'all think and y'all's thinking processes are so crazy. And I know that generations, as we get older, there's going to be different. Like my generation, they say we're the generation of information, right?
Mhm.
So we want to know everything. We want to know what's going on. We got to find the answers to everything, right? We
Right.
want to know the truth, right? Um, what now that you're an educator, and especially in universities, like what do you see in the university side as far as the youth and how they're processing information and things like that?
Um, yeah, they're processing it with a little bit more accuracy with the tools that they have in place.
Right, right.
So, like, they'll Google check you in a heartbeat. Like, what did you say, Dr. Martin? Man, let me look
Right,
that up.
right,
I don't believe that.
right. AI,
And
they'll AI it real
man,
quick.
please, they'll, man, what you? We ain't got time for that. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna find that out real quick, and we're gonna know.
Yes.
And yeah, you got to know. You got to be on your p's and q's when you're talking, man.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be on your p's and q's when you're talking. People have to know. You have to know what you're talking about, and you have to be aware that
Mm-hmm.
the audience that you're talking to, they can
Mm-hmm.
check you right immediately.
Yes.
Um,
How
and
I Go ahead, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. I was just gonna say that's how you have to roll nowadays. That's how you
Yes.
have to roll.
I had the privilege of being in one of your classes before, taking one of your
Hmm.
college classes. And that's one thing that I loved about you, just sitting there every week and listening to your class, is just how personal you made everything, how you were able to teach, regardless if, what level of education everyone was in the room, you were able to reach everyone in a certain way. Where do you think that comes from? Where do you think you got that from, your teaching style and how you um just relay information so everyone can understand?
Let's pause. Did you pass? You passed my class, didn't you?
Yeah, I passed it. I passed it. I passed it. I for sure passed it. I for sure
I
passed it.
just want to make sure, brother, because say we
No, I for
stop
sure
this,
passed
stop this.
it. No, I
Yeah.
passed
No,
it. I
I'm just
passed it.
joking.
I passed
Yeah, I know you passed, but you did good. Um, nah, we we I think my philosophy is totally centered on the fact that uh, every time um, somebody steps into your room,
it. Hmm.
they give you a part of themselves, and they're really, even if they're trying to be tough, they're as
Hmm.
transparent as they can be stepping into that
Hmm.
room, because they expect you to put something into them that
Hmm.
will help them in their
Hmm.
life.
Hmm.
So that part of me kind of shifted when I got to the collegiate level. The collegiate
Hmm.
when I was teaching in high school and elementary levels, I, you know I was day to day teaching and going through curriculum. When I got to the collegiate level, it was a different type of pull. People were like, "Man, you got to give me
Hmm.
everything you got." Like people
Hmm.
were just thirsty. I mean, I think maybe even in some of your classes, it's
Hmm.
nothing for people to stay after class and try to chop it up with
Hmm.
me about content. Hey, Dr. Martin,
Hmm.
but for real, what did you mean when you said this? Talk to me about this.
Hmm.
And I do try to bring every class that I teach on a college level back to the nuts and bolts of what's going on right now. I don't want
Hmm.
it to be like so uh, far out that it's like something where people are like, "Oh man, yeah, he's talking about that. That has no relationship to me." Right?
Hmm.
I want people when
Hmm.
they leave to be like, "Man, this pertains to my now." And
Hmm.
I can see me applying this in my now to be better tomorrow, to be better tonight, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
I want to be able to apply these principles in my life. So, my desire, my heart's passion is to be able to make sure every time somebody steps into my room, they leave with something, because they really come into me with a transparent heart, even if they don't say it.
Hmm.
That's the way I perceive it, because they're stepping in my room for information, and information is key. If you can give people information, then they can go and be great. If they don't know it, you can't do what you don't know, right? You
Mhm.
can't go where you don't know where you can go. You'll
Mhm.
find yourself wandering and don't have any type of purpose, right? So information is key. So if I can give you some information that loads you up and put you in position to be your better self,
Mhm.
let me do that. And that's every time somebody steps in my room, I feel like I have to be that person. I feel like I have to give them the cutting edge information, the right now information that will make them a better person, a better human, uh, and more effective in the life that they're living right now.
I love that. Let me ask you a question. This is going to be our last question, and we're going to get off of education. But what subjects do you currently teach right now?
Right now, I'm doing social sciences. I do right now sociology,
Okay.
and I do anthropology courses. So,
Okay.
really, sociology is like my big course that I do, where, of course, um, go through the stages of sociology. I do philosophy courses as well,
Okay.
some philosophy courses off and on, but mainly sociology now.
Question. One last question. I know like we see a lot of changes are happening in the system of education, right? Like the government is really trying to put their hand on what is being taught in schools, universities, private universities, all of those things. Um, have you seen anything like I know here in Texas, I know they are trying to literally take pages out of textbooks, right?
Mm,
Of talking about slavery and talking about certain things in the African American history, things that we've gone through as a people. Have you seen any challenges like that, like where you are in your teachings and things like? Have you seen anywhere where you had to kind of make changes and not teach on certain subjects and things like that now in these times?
Well, the beautiful thing about being working in the college level, you do have a freedom
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
teach. So
Mm-hmm.
even when they, might somebody might suggest something, there still is
Mm-hmm.
no demand on you making that adjustment.
Right.
You
Okay.
do run risk of being reprimanded or being put into
Wow.
some categorization, but
Wow.
on the college level, you have that freedom. I do know that's a common thing, though.
Mm-hmm.
People are always trying to rewrite history.
Mm-hmm.
Recidive history is always is always something, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are trying to revisit it and make it something that it's not.
Mm.
And you have to be careful how you do that, and why. What's the purpose for it, right?
Right.
So I speak the truth. I speak the knowledge. I speak the information. I say, here's the information. You do with it what you want to do with it. But this is the
Right.
truth about what happened. This is the
Right.
reality of why things are like this. This is what happens when things get in this way or that way. Um, and I think that is the responsibility of everyone who bears the uh, burden of educating a group of people, a generation,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
equipping people to be the leaders of today. Right?
Right.
How do you equip them? You got to equip them with pure information, pure content. If it's skewed, if I have an agenda behind my information, then there is something there that can be misconstrued by the audience and can be taken the wrong way. And we could
Wow.
run a number of case studies on that.
Mm-hmm.
Slavery is a part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The wrong information given to the wrong people to tell you that
Mm-hmm.
these people over here in Africa have something that you need, right? And you can
Mm-hmm.
use them as livestock, as cattle, right? You can go on and on, go down to the islands, right? Uh, where people were taken, where the first slaves were,
Mm-hmm.
manhandled down there and how that
Mm-hmm.
transpired. We can go to Israel, we can go to the Holocaust, we can go to Germany, we can go over there where there was, Adolf Hitler, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Information misconstrued, information taken the wrong way. And now he imprisons millions and millions of people and puts people through horrible degrees of torture, and of course we know how many died in that. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if information is not taken at its purest form, if information is not disclosed
Mm-hmm.
with a open agenda, if
Mm-hmm.
there is an agenda that is construed to try to benefit a group of people, it can
Mm-hmm.
lead to some of the worst and horrific things that we experienced in history. So you
Yes.
have to be careful of that. If somebody's trying to rip something out of a book, you got to say, nope, can't rip it out.
Right.
Because once you do that, now you take away the right for that person to know the truth. They
Mm-hmm.
have a right to the truth, just like you have a right to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you don't like the truth doesn't make it not true, right? You can't
Doesn't
take
make
it
it
away
not
from
true. I love that. I love that. Now you being an educator, you've written a few different books, and I didn't know that. I did not know this until I went on your website. And if you all want to check out or purchase any of Dr. Antwon Martin's books, you can go to drantwonmartin.org, and we'll have the link pop up on the bottom of the screen as well in the description if you want to check out any of his books. And I'm gonna talk to you about a couple of your books. The one book I was able to download the ebook, your ebook entitled "Learning to Speak and Listen to God." But the first book I want to ask you about, which I haven't had the opportunity to get in my hands yet, which is I'm definitely going to order this book. Is called "Accomplishing Pro, Pro,
prodigious goals.
Prodigious
Prodigious
Goals."
goals. Yes, yes.
Give us a breakdown on that. I mean, you're a person that has 4 collegiate degrees, and I know you've had to do something like you've had to have a board where you've had written down your goals. Um, break that book down. Just give us kind of like an oversight of what we can look forward to by reading that book.
Yeah, that was my first book that I had written. It was
Mm-hmm.
the all my blood, sweat, and tears went into that one. Really I really poured a lot into it because I wanted to
Wow.
see people accomplish what was seemingly insurmountable task in people's lives. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
people look at life and they just get so frustrated with where things are, right? And they get so lost in their now and they don't know that they have been made for so much more. So it
Mm-hmm.
requires a different perspective. That book helps you to look at life a little different, helps you to envision your uh, your goals in a
Mm-hmm.
different mindset. Not thinking of your goals as something that might just, oh, look, I can just, maybe this will happen, maybe that. No, no, no. A target is demanded. You have to make a target and then you have to accomplish it. So that means you have to do steps, plans, strategies. You have to have a forward thinking mentality. So, accomplishing prodigious goals is the opportunity for you to dream all over again with a
Mm-hmm.
strategy board. It's the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for you to focus in on what you always wanted to do and
Mm-hmm.
then obtain it. It's
Yes.
one of those books where if you read it, you should feel at the end of it that maybe what I dreamed to do, maybe what I thought I was going to do, is not something that I need to throw away. Maybe I need to
Mm-hmm.
step on in and make it happen
Mm-hmm.
and get
Mm-hmm.
it done.
Yes.
Because with the proper tools, with the proper strategy, with the proper plan in place, um, I can get it done. So
Yes.
it's one of
I
those books
love that.
that kind of positions us for that to do that. And that book was a blessing. It ended up on uh, TV. It ended up in different locales, media locales. It was a blessing, man. The way that book took off, it was really a blessing. A lot of people
Wow.
have been blessed by that book. So I would
What
I
do you
would definitely
what do you
advise you to
say to
get it.
people? What do you say to people who feel like they have maybe put down a goal and they say, "Hey, I want to obtain this by next year. I want
Mm,
to uh, go back to school and then get my degree, and I want to obtain it in this X amount of years or whatever." And it doesn't pan out that way. A lot of times, I look at things, being a Christian, being a believer of God. I always look at things now that I'm getting older, that things happen in God's time, right?
mm,
We could set our goals all day. We could say, I want this done by 6 months, this done by 7 months, a year, or whatever, but it may not happen. And people can get discouraged by that. And that may cause them to either step away from that goal, erase that goal, and say, you know what, I don't want to do that now. I want to do something else. or it may motivate them to do better to get that goal accomplished. What do you say to that person?
I definitely would say, uh, don't allow, don't ever allow uh, life to make you feel like you got to accept where you are right now and
Mm,
just flow with whatever's going on in your life.
mm-hmm,
It's important that you make a clear and decisive decision to really think about, hey, listen, I know that I want to do this, this, and this, but what's stopping me from getting there? You got to look at the obstacle as not something that is or the goal is not something that is uh, a plan or a strategy that goes outside of your ability or your scope of
mm,
influence. And the other thing that's important is that even though, and I know what you were saying, people really think that, if I, it's going to happen the way it's going to happen because it's
mm-hmm,
just going to be like that.
mm-hmm.
Uh, every day you wake up, it don't happen the way it's gonna happen. If
Right,
you go through
right.
the first 5 minutes of your day, it didn't happen the way it happened. It happened
Mm-hmm,
the way you designed it to happen.
mm-hmm,
Because the reality of life is that God gave each and every one of us the ability to control our day.
mm-hmm,
See, what we don't realize is that God is a perfect gentleman. God doesn't make us do anything. He doesn't
mm-hmm,
force us to be what we don't want to be. He allows us to choose and make our own decisions for how we choose and how we make our day. So
mm-hmm,
every day is yours to make good or make bad.
mm-hmm.
You cannot hold the responsibility or give the responsibility of your day.
Oh
Why would you
God.
give that power to anybody
Mm-hmm.
else?
Or anybody, yeah, yeah.
Why would you let somebody take the power over your day just because they got an attitude, or just
Right,
because they don't like you, or just because
right,
they don't want you to be great? Are you serious? No
right,
way. You
right.
don't have any power over my day. Just
Mm-hmm,
because you don't like me, it doesn't stop what my goal is for myself, because
mm-hmm,
you don't know me like I know me. I know what I want to do. I know what I
mm-hmm,
want to accomplish. I know what dreams and hopes and visions have been impregnated inside of me to the point at which it wakes me up sometimes and I just
right,
daydream about it. And
right.
sometimes I can't stop thinking about what I really want to see myself do. And you don't know that about me. So why would I let
Mm-hmm,
your attitude stop me from getting to that place?
mm-hmm,
That's crazy. It's ludicrous.
mm-hmm,
You don't ever need to be that person. So I don't
mm-hmm,
care what you say about me. I don't care how you feel about me. I don't care what you think that I can't do. I know that I can do it as long as I apply myself, put the proper tools in place, and work at it and work hard to do it. See, the reason why a lot of people say and have that philosophy, because this is one of the big ones. It's just going to be
mm-hmm.
what it's going to be. It's going
Yeah,
to happen the way it's going to happen. Many
right.
times people do that is because they tried once or twice and it failed.
And they failed. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
try once or twice and it falls, and you like, man, I guess it's just going to be what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
can't do it. Can't keep
mm-hmm.
trying because I'm just working hard against. No,
Right.
that's hogwash. There's
Right.
no reason why you should allow a failure to be an interruption to your journey to success. A
Mm-hmm.
failure is just what it is. It's a failure, and you got to accept it. You got to place it in the right category. You got to move on past it. If you
Yes.
stay at your place of failure, then guess what you become? A
Failure.
failure.
Yeah.
You
I
cannot
love
stay
that.
there.
I love that. I love that. I appreciate that answer because that definitely helped somebody. I hope listening to that. Um, Staying in that vein, your ebook is entitled "Learning to Speak and Listen to God." And I haven't read the whole thing. I skimmed through it on yesterday, and I was reading parts of it. One chapter that I did skim down to was how to pray, chapter number 4.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like so many times, I guess when we are growing up, right, in church, those of you who are grown up in church, and Dr. Antwon Martin, he's a PK, so he's been in church all of his life, right?
You know that. You know that. Pew baby.
um, yes. And you say in chapter 4 about how to pray, one thing that you said, while prayer is a simple concept, it can be challenging to know how to pray effectively. Explain that.
The one thing the disciples asked Jesus, out of all
Hmm.
the things they could have asked him, the one thing they asked Jesus to teach them was they said, Jesus, teach us how to pray as you taught your disciples. Teach us how to pray. Now,
Hmm.
come on. They can ask him a lot of stuff,
Hmm.
but all together collectively, they ask him, teach us how to pray.
Hmm.
They asked him that because prayer, whether we know it or not, is such a portal in our lives. Why do you think modern day thought and yoga and everything is so in the know now? It's in this
Mm.
space because everybody knows a place of meditation, a
Right.
place of concentration, a place of heightened focus is a place where you can become more in tune
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
the things around you, with life, not just
Hmm.
with that, with the elements, with powers. Why do you think it's so powerful? Why do you think people are going to yoga classes all over the place and all these other
Right.
classes? Because they
Right.
know, hey, it's something to this prayer thing. It's something to
Right.
this connection. Now, it's very important you know how to pray because you'll get caught up in those other facets and try to do other
Hmm.
type of things, and you'll be in a different mind space.
Yes. Yes.
But if
Yes.
you know how to pray, if you know how to pray, listen to me. If you know how to pray, you can tap into a spiritual climate, a spiritual understanding, a spiritual connection to heavenly, to the God of the universe, to the creator of everything. And then you can become more in tune with your purpose. His connection makes you more connected to what you are here for.
Hmm.
You are hardly aware of what your real purpose is if you don't know how to connect to Him in prayer first.
Wow.
And that
I love that.
requires a consistent devotion and desire. I have to desire His understanding for my life, His thought for me. What does he think about me? Jeremiah 29:11 says, For I know the thoughts I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace, not of evil, to give you an expected end. If you don't know that he wants to give you a expected, the end is already done. It's already,
Hmm.
it's the expected end. It's already there. If you don't know that he wants to give you that expected end, then you'll go through life searching. Well, I guess I'm going to go here. Well, I guess I'm going to go there. Well, I guess I'm going to do
Hmm.
this. Well, I guess I'm going to do that. And you'll be wandering and wandering and wandering, and you won't ever pick up anything to get you to the expected end. Do you realize this is why I'm so impressed with this podcast? Do you
Hmm.
realize that every time somebody picks up something that is like a a a, a, a place of a place to sojourn throughout their life, like this
Hmm.
podcast is
Hmm.
a opportunity to travel through a space and time of your life where you're growing
Yes.
and you're building and you're uh, uh, providing information and insight to people, and you're in this space of giving and taking and learning and growing and exchange of heavy levels of content and information. When you get in those spaces, it kind of accelerates you and to get to that expected end that God has for you.
Yes.
You can
Yes.
get there with some things like that. That's why you have to apply yourself. I tell people, why wouldn't you go to school? It's going to help you
Right.
get somewhere.
Right.
If
Right.
you don't have an education, get an education. If
Right.
you don't have to go to a college. Go to a
Hmm.
trade school.
Go
One
to
of
a
the young
trade
people at
school.
my church told me this past week, blessed my life. He said, Dr. Martin, my he's dating a young lady. She's doing great. She's at USC. She's getting ready to she's getting ready to be a doctor. She's
Hmm.
phenomenal. But he's not into school like that. But he said, Dr. Martin, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm going to go to school and I'm gonna get my HVAC. I got a HVAC program I'm about to jump in, and I think I'm gonna do very well. I'm gonna make some money. I'm gonna do the air conditioning over for the church. I'm gonna be good. I said,
Hmm.
bro, I am so proud of you
Hmm.
because you are picking something up that you can get in this journey of life in, and you can let it carry you
Right.
on your way. You
Right.
gotta find something to do. You gotta find a space to be in. You gotta have somewhere to get there so that you can get there. You can't get there unless you're on some type of journey. You're not gonna get
Hmm.
nowhere if you're just sitting still.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
where are you going to pick up the journey at? Are you going to jump into the in that space with education? Are you going to jump in that space with career? Are you going to jump in that space with a podcast or with some type of entrepreneurial endeavors? What are you going to
Mhm.
do? Because if you just sit still, you'll get nowhere.
Right.
In
Right.
ministry, what are you going to do? How are you going to do
Mhm.
it? Because you got to do something. You can't
Yes.
sit still. And that
Yes.
requires all of us to apply ourselves, right? Application is important. And yeah,
That goes
that's my
back
big
to
thing.
the previous point when we're talking about goals.
Yeah.
Having a strong prayer life can help you with those goals,
Yeah.
right? Having a strong prayer life and that connection with God to help direct you into the things that you want to go that you want to obtain and the goals that you want to obtain. I've had to learn that in different facets of my life, in different areas of my life where I've had to mature to get that understanding. I've had to have kids and be able to understand, like, you know what,
Mhm,
I got to get serious about something, right? And I
mhm,
got to get serious about being where I am at in life, and
mhm.
I think sometimes in life, God allows certain things to happen to us to where, we may stray away for a minute, but He knows
He
one
knows.
one day you're going to come back and you're going to get on your knees, you're going to pray, and you're going to ask for forgiveness, and you're going
Mhm.
to ask God, what direction do you want in my life?
See, and that's the importance of prayer. That's why prayer is so important, because
Mhm.
God don't look at us like other people look at. See, if you don't pray, if you don't understand the importance of prayer and get on your journey to get somewhere in life,
Right.
you'll think, "Oh, God's like people." When just
Mm,
because people don't like me, people don't think I'm gonna be nothing. God don't think I'm gonna be nothing either. Come
mm,
on now,
mm.
you got to know
We
better
try to
than that.
naturalize God. We try to naturalize God. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
He look. He is. The Bible clearly says, "My thoughts are not
Are not
your
your
thoughts.
thoughts. Yes.
My
Yes.
ways are not your ways." You are so far away from God. The Bible goes as
Hmm.
far to say something so deep. It says, "We look through a glass half dim." In other words, we don't even
Hmm.
see like God sees. The stuff we see is just like a fraction of what God can see,
Right.
right?
Right.
And you don't ever need to be concerned about how people perceive you. I put a post out today saying like, "Hey, I want you to hear me. I don't care how far you've fallen away. I don't care where you went and how many mistakes you made. God still loves you." Like if you don't pray, you'll never know the truth of the fact that God loves you in spite of your mistakes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because in prayer, that's where he gives you that connection, that comfort, that love, that everlasting comfort that makes you
Hmm.
everlasting love that makes you feel yeah, makes you feel like you're at home, right? You don't feel
Hmm.
home in your if you're in yourself, if you're in your flesh, if you're upset, if you're worried, if you're concerned, if your nerves are all out of place, if you're anxious, if you have a lot heavy anxiety, you gotta pray. You gotta
Yes.
be in that meditated state where you can commune with God and talk to Him about life, and He can talk back to you. That's the other thing
Yes.
about prayer. That's why you have to learn how to pray. You don't
Mm,
just talk to God, but you
mm,
gotta sit still.
mm.
Generation X, Y, Z, and every
Hmm.
other generation. You gotta sit still. You
Yes.
gotta
Yes.
sit still. I'm
Yes.
telling you, you gotta
Yes.
sit. Sometimes you just gotta chill out and let him talk to you.
Yes.
Because if you
I
don't,
love that.
you'll be talking to him all the time, and that's not a conversation. That's a
Yes.
monologue. You gotta
Yes.
let him listen to you. You need to have a dialogue with God. Listen to him. Listen to his voice. Still small voice. He'll respond to you as well.
Yes. I love that. I love that. I hope this is helping somebody because it's helping me. It's helping me a lot. Um, you're a PK, like we said, you're a pastor's kid and you grew up in church. On episode number 2, this is episode 3. But on episode 2, I had the privilege of having my good friend John Thomas, who you know as well, good brother, man. And we were talking. My grandfather is a pastor, so I'm like a grandkid PK, I guess you could say, right? And um, and we were laughing at some of the things that some of the I guess things that people say PKs are about, right? Oh,
Mhm.
PKs, they're the most troublemakers in the church. They, especially the boys, they always talking to all the girls in the church and blah blah blah, this and
Hmm.
that, right? And then there's also this other aspect of, some people think that PKs, like, all you do is pray at home, and your dad
Yeah.
or whoever's the pastor of the house, they read the Bible and scriptures all night and day, and y'all just be in there speaking in tongues and having
Yeah.
tearing sessions all throughout the day. How was your upbringing? Like, how were you and your brother's upbringing in the house with Bishop Aaron Martin
Yeah.
and First Lady
Yeah.
Martin?
I must say I'm grateful for my dad in that regard, because whereas we went to church every
Mm-hmm.
single Sunday almost of my
Mm-hmm.
life, um, he was not that person where he was like, do it this way, listen to me, do it, pray, 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 I pray. We
Right.
need to pray some more. Pull out your Bible. Wait, why aren't you reading your Bible right now? He
Right.
was not
Right.
that person. He gave us space to grow up, and he gave us space to do dumb stuff sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, he had a handle on us, but I must say, man, I'm grateful for my dad in that regard. He was not that person where he was like putting on a lot of legalism in our house.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, you gotta fast every
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday. Dad, I'm only 12. Fast. No, we didn't have that.
Right. Right.
Uh, you know, and we were blessed. We were blessed because my brother and I, we we enjoyed we enjoyed watching my dad do his thing and be great. My dad was a
I
great
love
preacher.
that.
He's still a great preacher. We
Yes, he
enjoyed
is.
watching him preach. Like, we enjoyed him in his vein. That was his.
Yes.
That was his bag. My dad get on the pulpit and start preaching. We was like, this dude going. We about to
Then
have
he'll
a
hop
good
off
time.
out the pulpit and hop on the organ or the
Yeah,
keyboard,
yeah,
sing a song, play while he's preaching. Man,
yeah,
one of the coldest things I've ever seen
yeah.
anybody in my life ever do. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
He would hop in his bag and go for it, right? And it'll be like, man, this dude is really on it. We
yes.
used to love watching him do him.
Hmm.
Never would I have thought that I would be a preacher. I never had that intent. Everybody told my brother he'd be a preacher.
I
I
was gonna
never
ask you
thought
that.
that I would do anything with preaching. I was like, man, I'm glad he doing
Why?
it. Because
Why? Why?
I was never interested to the point where I wanted to mimic or be into something that I wasn't really into. You feel what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
never had like I was into sports. I was
Hmm.
into athletics. I
Hmm.
I love those things. And I didn't
Hmm.
want to be fake and phony and crony with anything. I couldn't see myself preaching because I was like, man, I really don't like the whole idea of standing
Hmm.
behind a pulpit and talking for 45 minutes and everybody looking at me. You get what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Hmm.
I'd rather
Hmm.
be out on a field or running or doing something.
Right.
And,
Right.
if you want to look at me be great on the field. Look at me do this.
Right.
And that was
Right.
my mentality. I didn't feel like I had it to do it. And I thought,
Hmm.
I would see my dad, and my dad set the bar so high. I was like, man, that dude, yeah, I'm not there. I'm not trying to be that person.
Hmm.
Needless to say, I got out here and went to college and started playing college ball. Played with some great people. Played with Chad Ochocinco, played with Steve Smith that played for the Carolina Panthers,
Hmm.
and a host of other people that went to the NFL, went to the league. We were all, we were on a championship team. I thought,
Hmm.
I was predicted in high school that I was going to make it to the New York Giants. I
Wow.
was just like, I knew I was going.
Yeah.
But the Lord had a different way. He cut me off on that
Hmm.
and took me through the preaching route, through the church route. And, I don't know if I would have ever went that route. I don't know if I'd ever went back to the church route if my dad would have been like real hard on me when I was
Hmm.
younger. Like, hey, y'all need to be praying. Where that Bible study
Hmm.
going on? Let's
Hmm.
do some Bible study right now.
Hmm.
My mom was a little tougher on us than my dad. My dad was kind of
Wow.
chill. He's like, yeah, all right, well, come with me. He would make us go to church now. Now, don't get me
Right. Right.
wrong. Church was
Right.
not an option.
Right.
We went to church. We dressed up. We went to church,
Right.
but he didn't beat the Bible over our head to get us to conform to a certain standard of life. We did have to live a good respectable life. We couldn't embarrass him or nothing, but
Hmm.
it was a blessing to be that. And I think the only reason why I became a preacher, a minister, and went back to my roots and said, "Hey, I got to get back right with God," because I started playing college football. I was headed in the wrong direction,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to get back right with God. Only reason I did that was because I firmly believe is because it wasn't something that was beat. I wasn't browbeaten to live a life for God, and it was a choice. It was a
Yes.
decision I made, and because I
Yes.
could freely make my decision, I freely made a decision to go back to God, and it was the best decision of my life.
You talk about the impact that your father had on your life as far as growing up. Um, your mother unfortunately isn't here with us anymore. She was a
Mhm.
very, very sweet, sweet, sweet lady. I remember one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard sing, and she was just a beautiful, beautiful lady. What was her impact on your life? Would you like to talk about that?
Yeah. I don't mind talking about it. I uh, my mom was the end of a long string of losses that I had. Like it was so crazy because I would love to just talk about her, but I can't because it's so. I had a long string of. I didn't have death. I really haven't experienced death in my family until like the COVID season hit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the first loss I had, it was my wife's grandmother. She was right beginning of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one who helped me and my wife to become who we were.
Mm-hmm.
She gave us, she hooked us up, gave us our first bedroom suit, washer and dryer.
Wow.
She was just a big support to our home. Then after that, uh, your uncle,
Mm-hmm.
one of my best friends in the whole wide world, uh, I that one hit me super tough,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I was not anticipating that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody was.
Nobody
And
was.
that one like knocked me off my socks. I,
Mm-hmm.
I just, I just never forget. That's my brother. I
Mm-hmm.
think about him all the time. Um, uh, Nathan Jordan. That's my boy.
Yep.
Say his
Nathan
name.
Jordan.
That's
Yes,
my brother,
sir.
man. Oh God, I love that man. And
Yes.
after that, then I had the loss of uh, my wife's other grandmother, who uh, um, was really close to us, and then
Mm-hmm.
uh, her dad passed, which was like my other dad, and then her grandfather passed,
Wow.
and then after that, my mom passed. So it was
Wow.
like a shell
Wow.
shock. Like I was
Right.
going
Right.
through like death after that. It just felt
Right.
like by the time my mom passed, it was like it hurt so. It was so surreal. It hurt me. It just hurt in a different way because
It just hurt in a
of
different way.
all of
Yeah.
that I just told you just transpired.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's effect on my life, my mom, I don't know, everybody might, some people like to say this, but I really mean my mom was my best friend, like my
Mm.
best friend. Like, mama, we rolled, like, I would. I would pick up my mom and roll out for like, hey, y'all, you want to go out tonight with me? Let's go out. Like, let's go hang out. Like, that's how
I love
cool
that.
I believed I was with my mom. Like, I felt so cool with my mom. And I feel like you know, it was like 10 trucks rolled over me when she passed. It was just like,
Wow.
I am so out of it that I cannot really comprehend the fact that I will no longer see her on this side, right?
Right.
And it was a compounding effect because she was close to me. She was like my best friend. But
Mm-hmm.
then on the other side of that, like she was my close to my daughters. She
Right.
was like really connected to my girls.
Right.
And my wife, that was her other mom. Like she just, yeah,
It
she was
hit
the gel of
different.
my
It hit
family. She
different.
was the gel of,
Yes.
like I told you, it was all boys when I grew up. My mom
Mm-hmm.
was the only woman in the house. Like, if it
Wow.
wasn't for her, I don't know if any of us would know each other. Like, she like made things work. Like, because folks be like, I
Right.
don't want to talk to him. I ain't gonna do him. I'm done. And my mom be like, come
Right.
on now, let's all come back together. It'd be like, man,
Right.
she right.
Right. Right. Right. Right.
She
Right.
was that person. And, I have nothing but fond memories of my mom. I cannot
Wow.
even put my mind to like thinking of something that would like, my mom was all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And, to not have her with me now, I always, reflect on the fact that, I tell people I just, since my mom passed, I tell people a lot, don't forget, don't disregard, don't act like your parents are not there,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Appreciate the time you have with your
Yes.
family. And I told you, like
Yes.
all those people that passed, like I'm like, appreciate the time you have with everybody.
Yes.
Appreciate the time you
Yes.
have with all your peoples. Like, cause you don't know when
Yes.
the next is gonna happen, right? And you gotta treat those spaces with a lot of respect. You gotta appreciate everybody that's in your life and treat them good.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
appreciate every day. I thank God because during the pandemic, I was able to spend so much time with my father-in-law, my wife's
Mm-hmm.
father, with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
We had those key intricate times that I wouldn't have been able to get if I had to work every day or go into an office. But I was able to
Mm-hmm.
like spend those times together. Those meant everything to me. Like
Yeah.
now, those are the moments that really resonate with me. Like when I feel sad, I remember that. And I'm like, man, I appreciate that time we had together. I appreciate that time I was with
Mm-hmm.
my mom or with my father-in-law, with this one or that one. Because now, I used to cut my wife's grandfather's hair all the time. So now I remember those times when
Mm-hmm.
I cut his hair. I was like, man, I used to cut that man's head on Sunday. It makes
And
me
you
feel
have
good about,
conversations.
it helps me.
Yeah.
If you, the guilt, I have family that has guilt, based on the loss of
Mm-hmm.
others. I think a lot of the guilt
Mm-hmm.
comes from the lack of time spent. You get what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
don't appreciate that time. You don't value that person. And then you have to live with that guilt. You don't want to
Yes.
live with guilt with people that you can't apologize to anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because once they're gone, you can't say anything to them anymore. You can't
Mm-hmm.
apologize. You can't say, I'm sorry again. They're not going to hear you, no matter how many times you say it. You say it to God,
Yeah.
but you won't be able to say it to them. So
Mm-hmm.
make sure you appreciate the people in your life. Appreciate them. It just gave me a new profound understanding of how to appreciate each and every day and each and every person
Mm-hmm.
in my life. Love them
Yes.
with a real love, treat them with respect. You don't have to like me to respect me, right? Just
Yeah.
respect them.
Yes. 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 I you talk about my Uncle Nate. My Uncle Nate, as you know, was man, he impacted my life in a different way. Um in a different way that like with all due respect, my father couldn't
Mm-hmm.
or like my grandfather couldn't because I think he was able to see me in a different light than a son or a grandson. He was able to see me in a light of like, this is my young nephew. This is my guy. He was able to me and him used to have conversations for hours and hours and hours.
Right.
And I want to say back in 2018, I want to say about 2018, um I talked about this briefly at his funeral service, but me and him had a disagreement.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the funniest. It's funny now looking back at it now because it was me. It was
Mm-hmm.
me not understanding that he was trying to teach me and show me something that I at the time was not trying to hear,
Right.
was not trying to understand. I was being me. I thought I was
Right.
grown.
Right.
I'm being me. I'm living my life. Uncle Nate, you can't tell me how to be
Yeah.
a man. I'm on this journey on my own. I don't care what you and you know how Nate is, man. Nate, when you challenge him, he'll challenge you right back.
That's right. That's right.
And I told him it got so heated over the phone. We was on the phone. It got so heated on the phone. He's like, man, pull up there. Pull up there. I was and me not realizing like my Uncle Nate will kill me, dog. Like my Uncle Nate will
Don't pull up on that
kill
brother.
me,
Don't pull
man.
up on him.
Yo, what am I thinking? Like
Don't
at the
do
time, I'm like, what am I thinking?
it.
But I was in that space. where I
Yeah.
didn't care about what nobody said. I didn't
Yeah.
care about what nobody had to tell any if it was positive, whether you were if you were against me at that time, or if you were going to say something that was against what I wanted to hear, I didn't want to
Right.
hear it.
Right.
I was going through some growing pains at the time,
Hmm.
and I remember we had we really didn't talk for a while, for like a little while. And I remember one day he called me and we chopped it up on the phone, and he just said, "Look, this is what I'm trying to teach you. This is what I'm trying to get you to understand." And I really just had to be like, "I hear you. I
Right.
got you."
Right.
And before I moved here to Houston, um, and I talked about this on episode 1 with my dad. My I When I found out I was having a son,
Hmm.
I didn't want to name him Matthew the third.
Right.
I
Right.
didn't want to, because of where I was at with my relationship with my father.
Hmm.
Me and Nate always had this thing, because I always used to joke with him. I'm like, "Man, you named Trey Nathan the third or whatever." I'm like, "I'm not naming my son. If I have a son, I'm not naming him." And he was like, "Watch, you gonna see." And I went back to California like a month before my son was born, and I told
Hmm.
Nate what I was gonna name my son. He was like, I told you were gonna name him." So me and Nate had that type of relationship, and I miss
Well,
him, man. I really, really genuinely miss him. Man, that's probably one of the first losses in my family of ever experiencing a loss like that.
hmm.
We haven't had too many deaths in our immediate family. We haven't
Right.
had none really.
Hmm.
And Nate was the first one to pass away, and it just hit so hard, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It hit so hard. I remember just being on the phone that night that he passed away. We were all on FaceTime with him in the
Hmm.
hospital, and it was just like so surreal. Like this is
Yeah.
just not real. This is
Not
just
real.
not
Yeah.
real,
Not real.
and
Yeah.
it has changed me to a point where now I want to be the best father that I can be,
That's right.
because I saw his relationship that he had with his kids.
Hmm.
Um, People don't understand that sometimes when you lose someone, it can actually help you.
Yeah.
And I've tried to look at the positives since his death, and our family, man, like we just passed his anniversary of his death. And man, I think about him all the time, man. I think
Yeah.
about him all the time. Just speak a little bit on y'all's friendship, man, and just some of the things that you all experienced growing up, man, and as young adults, and
Yeah.
coming up.
Well, it was your dad that actually connected us, and he never lets us live
Mhm.
that down.
Mhm.
he always remind he's always remind us. He remind me now, but he always
Yeah,
reminds us. I'm the
yeah,
one that hooked y'all up. I'm the one that made y'all, connected y'all to each other. Because
yeah.
I was trying to hook up with your dad, like to work with me with what I was doing, and he was like, "Man, you need to get
Mhm.
my little brother, my brother Nate. He's your age. He'd be
Mhm.
great." Your dad was like, "I guess your dad was like, man, I'm through with this stuff, man. I'm moving on to the next part of my life. I can't be working
Right,
with these young people
right,
no more
right,
like this."
right,
And
right.
uh, Nate, it was like a match made in heaven, man. I
Mhm.
just I can't even begin to explain to you how it was just an instant connection. Like we didn't have it
Mhm.
wasn't no like, hey, let me do a resume on you and see. No, it was like as soon as we met each other, we was like,
Mhm.
we brothers, we brothers for life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And,
That's how
and
Nate is. That's how
that
Nate is.
that's
Yeah.
how he was, man. And it just
Yeah, that's how
became
he
that,
was.
man.
Yeah.
We just became that. We're both in the same stage of life with so many different ways. Matter of fact, I mean, me and Nate, it gets so deep. Like me and him were together on a religious level, all that stuff. We worked with the young people of the state. We had an awesome administration with the
Mhm.
California state of California youth department. But we went as far as like professionally. Like Nate
Mhm.
opened the door for me to start working at one of the local colleges, at one of the smaller institutions.
Mhm.
He was like, "Man, come over
Mhm.
here, man. I'm gonna put your name into this college, and you want to work in the college level." I was like, Nate, you work in the college level, man? Let me do it. I want to work. I want to do it. I want to do it over there. And
Mhm.
he was like, "Man, come on, I'll hook you up." And he introduced me to the right person, somebody that I already know, but
Mhm.
through his voice got me in a position
It was
just like that.
different.
Just like that. Just
Mm-hmm.
like that. And it was like, man, I don't believe this. And we was both teaching on the same. So this is how crazy it was. We worked with the state together as the
Mm-hmm.
leaders of the state. We both taught
Mm-hmm.
college on the same campus. Like we were like
Mm-hmm.
seeing each other. All, it like became like the situation was like, this is unbelievable how we just could make like all these things came together. You know what I mean? And at the
Yeah.
end of the night, at the end of the
Yeah.
class, we be both talking about stuff like, hey man, so what you talking?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just we just
Mm-hmm.
had, it was just, and then of course, everything that went on with that, family connections, just
Mm-hmm.
always, chopping it up with one another, hanging out, doing things. It's just he was my brother, man, and I, just like you said, it hit everybody like a ton of bricks. I dare not say that, you know, I I know he was like one of the best parents I've ever seen do it in my life,
Yeah.
and I don't know anybody
Mm-hmm.
that was seeing him as a parent and not try to be a better parent. You know,
Yes.
of course, I went back to my girls like I can do better. I know I
Right.
can do better. Like this dude
Right.
killed the game in parenting.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was all the way
Mm-hmm.
there. He would call me all the time about Trey's football games and how many times
Yep.
he
Yep.
scored, how many touchdowns he made. It was like, dude, your son is a beast. He was like, yeah, he good,
Yeah.
man. He good. He would tell me about the
You
practice
gotta
and
see
about
it.
how this.
Hey,
We just chopped.
you gotta
It
see
wasn't that
little
we didn't
Trey.
talk about. We both were young, married,
Mm-hmm.
raising children. Just we we
Mm-hmm.
we we just met on all them levels, man, and it was just like a perfect relationship. I needed him in my life throughout all those years because he helped to balance me
Right.
on so many levels where I looked at things a different way. When I talked to him, I became more coherent and like more responsive, like to the reality of what was going on. He was able to
Mm-hmm.
bring you back down to earth without making you feel little. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yeah, I know you're
Right.
upset,
Right.
but it's gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right.
Right.
Like, yeah, you're right. I'm
That's why
good.
me and him got into that argument. Cause I ain't want to hear it. But you got to see Lil Trey play. Lil Trey, man, I talked to my grandfather the other day. He's actually playing receiver right
Oh
now.
wow. Oh wow.
Um, but he might be playing. They trying to get him back to play quarterback because he's a beast at quarterback, man. That
I
dude.
love it. I
Then he's
love it.
tall, lean. Oh man, the dude. He if he sticks with it,
He
he
got a
gonna be
way to go.
nice.
He
He
gonna
gonna
be
be
nice.
nice.
I love
Oh,
it.
he
I
he
love
gonna
it.
he's only in the 8th grade and he's like almost 6 foot
Come on
and
now.
he's gonna be a
Come on
beast,
now.
man.
He
So
got it
so yeah,
honest.
you
He
got
got
to
it
check him
honest.
out.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Um, I appreciate this conversation. We got a couple more little topics I want to hit, and then we'll be out of here.
Okay.
One of your other books is entitled Five Ways to Keep Her Happy.
Yeah.
And you've
Yeah.
been married for 24 years
Yeah.
to Miss
22, about to be 23.
Yvette.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
23, 22 about to be, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
22
Yeah.
about
No,
to
we
be
good.
23.
Yep. Yep.
And uh and Five Ways to Keep Her Happy. Where did that idea come from? Like when were you like in a part of your marriage or relationship that you were just like, I need to write this book? Was that something that you and your wife talked about putting together? Where did that idea come from for that book?
Man, that book came from a lot of my friends that got married around my age that didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't make
Mm,
it.
mm.
And uh, it seemed like I kept getting the same story from each one of them. Like, man,
Wow.
I,
Okay.
I don't know what happened. I
Right.
don't know why
Right.
she don't love me no more. I don't know why I don't love her no more. She cheated on me, or I cheated on her. It was just like so many different scenarios, and uh,
Mm-hmm.
it got to the point where some of my friends, because people get intimidated when they see you like your marriage doing good or your relationship's doing good, they don't want to talk to you about it. So I had some friends that didn't even
Yeah.
tell me they was getting divorced. They just like I
Yeah.
see them next year and they be like, "Oh yeah, we're not married no more." Like what? Like what's going on?
Right.
Like why didn't you tell me?
Right.
Where did that come from?
Right.
And it was simply because people didn't want to disclose that information because they were,
Mm-hmm.
they were. in a rough place. And I can't really,
Mm-hmm.
short them for that. I'm just saying that's how that book became such a relevant piece of information for me. Like, we gotta do what we can to help this situation. Folks are getting married
Mm-hmm.
and just not making it. They can't make the journey.
Mm-hmm.
So I took some of the stuff that helped to make my marriage successful and I poured it into that piece of literature. Like, hey, there are
Wow.
some things you can do, and I did it from the perspective of the man because
Mm-hmm.
everybody has to do it based on where they see things. I can't write
Mm-hmm.
and like say, hey, this is what you should do, girl. This is what you should do, boy. No,
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
I think it's
Right.
better for me to write from a perspective in this book. I thought it was better for me to write from the perspective of what I experienced and how that can help
Mm-hmm.
a man to live and make his marriage better. Bring life to your
Wow.
home,
Right.
bring longevity to your marriage. How can you do that? You got to put these key principles in place. You got to make sure that you make her, and I know happy is such a
Cliche.
yeah,
It's
it's
like a
more cliches, right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really not
Yeah.
like it's just for the book title, right? Publishers are like, hey,
Right.
you need to put something on here that'll get people to buy the book. It's not
Right.
really a happy moment. It's more of a desire to make her satisfied, to make
Mm-hmm.
her feel like she is being protected and being loved,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in that, she will be happy. In those
Mm-hmm.
spaces, she'll be a happy camper. But how do you do that? And that's where this book came from. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like a 30-day challenge in this book. That's
I
like
love it. Okay.
strong. It's gonna make you sweat a little bit. It's gonna make you work hard for 30 days straight. But if you do it
Gotcha.
right, it'll make you feel like, hey, I can't come down from this. Like now I've set a
Mm-hmm.
pattern for my life, for my
Mm-hmm.
marriage to carry out certain goals. And, I can do this again.
Yes.
I can keep this going, and it
Yes.
doesn't mean you have to do it every month, but there are some things that you'll do that will change the way you do life with your spouse. And how do you do that best? By carrying out certain principles to make her happy, right? To make her feel
Mm-hmm.
loved and wanted. And every man has to do that. Every man has to do that, right? Go back to
Mm-hmm.
Adam and Eve, right? We can go through the story, right? We might not ever have gotten out the garden if Adam was covering his
Mm-hmm.
wife. He going in the cool of the
Right.
evening and left his wife alone with the serpent. What you doing, brother? Come on, man. Yeah, you done messed it up for everybody. No, it's just a principle we gotta try to live by, right?
Right.
Cover that wife,
I
love that
love that.
wife, and as the man, that's our responsibility.
I love that. I appreciate this conversation, Dr. Martin. I really, really do. From a young person, from always knowing you from the outside, looking in, and just having that connection with you, I love this conversation. I've learned something tonight, and I hope everyone who is watching and has tuned in, I hope you've gotten something from this episode, this podcast tonight. Um, DrAntwonMartin.org is where you can go get any of the books that we talked about tonight. And you can also see some of his content on that website as well. I watch you come pop up on my TikTok a lot. What is the name of your TikTok? Because you always have inspirational messages that you post on there. What is that? What is that? Your tag on TikTok?
My TikTok is simply Dr. Martin, Dr. Martin, and
Okay.
real simple. So yeah, you
Yes.
you just hop
Please,
in there
please
and
go on there.
mhm,
Yes, I will. We will put all of your information in the description on this underneath this video. This video will be streaming on October 6th, the first Saturday of October. We
okay.
will be publishing this episode. So please, please stay tuned for that. I just again want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and just sitting down and talking with me for a few moments about some things. And like I said, I hope someone has learned something, has gotten something positive out of this conversation. And I just really, really greatly, greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to be contacting you more. I'm going to be hitting your lineup some more, man, and just talking to you some more and getting some insight on to help me with my growth
Mhm.
as a young man, and you know, starting to get back into ministry and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So I'm definitely going to be reaching out.
man. Look, we family, and I told you, when Nate left us, I know I can't be him, but we family. So you hit me up,
I
and we're
appreciate
gonna
that.
chop it up. So and I believe in that, man. I believe in that.
Yes,
Like I
sir.
said, I value relationships. So, um, you know, it ain't open to everybody to call, but you can call whenever you need to call.
I can call. All right, I can call. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to this episode of the Matt Taylor Podcast, episode number 3. Please, again, like, comment, share this podcast, share this episode with someone who you know that can get something from this episode. And this is why we are here. We are here to spread information, positive information, to help someone grow in this life that we are living. So thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, see you later.